Cytress is an action selection, engine-building game set in a postmodern cyberpunk world. Over multiple rounds, players will send their crew to complete missions for factions, earning abilities that build their life path, while vying for control of the surface world and escaping to the floating city of STRATOS. Place one randomly selected mini-map tile per player into the pattern shown below, in the middle of the table. This is known as the mini-map. Place the 4 faction mission boards around Cytress, with either the 2 3-player side or 4-player side is face-up, depending on the number of people playing. Then divide the faction mission cards into their 4 decks, based on the back of the card. Shuffle each deck and place it face down on its matching faction mission board, revealing the first 3 cards, and place them face-up in the adjacent slots. Place the Underbelly District board below the mini-map. Randomly select which side is face-up. On the right, sort the bounty cards based on the number of players, returning any not matching the player count to the box. Stack the cards face-up on their matching spaces on the Underbelly District board, with the lowest points at the bottom of the stack increasing to the highest points on top. On the left, sort the deck cards in their matching spaces on the Underbelly District board based on the position shown by this symbol. Place the 6 skill Ascension tokens face-up on the Underbelly District board in their matching spaces. Build the STRATOS floating city model, ensuring either the 2 to 3-player side or 4-player side is faced up, depending on the number of people playing, and place it above the mini-map, which is placed above the STRATOS board. Then shuffle the Stratolite cards and place them in a face-down deck next to the STRATOS board and revealing 5 face-up onto the STRATOS floating city. Then place 7 tunnel sections per player into a small pile and place it below STRATOS. Place the remaining tunnel sections out of reach, which can be used later in the game. Randomly deal each player a leader board. They may choose which side they use. Give each player the leader standee, 3 ship standees, and 15 crew cubes that match their leader color. Give each player a supply tracker board and supply tracker token for each supply. All players start with 2 of each supply. Place the tokens on value 2 as marked on the supply tracker. Sort the skill cards based on the number of players, then shuffle and deal 2 cards or 3 cards in a 2-player game face down to each player, returning any undealt cards to the box. And that's the setup. Cytress is played over multiple rounds, each divided into 4 phases, which corresponds to one of the 4 sections of the leaderboard, which are known as life paths. When mission cards are obtained, they will be slot into their corresponding life paths, where the supply symbol shows what abilities your leader may take during the different phases. Building the Corpocrat life path will increase the supplies you earn in Phase 1, the gain supply phase. Building the Privateer life path will increase the supplies you can earn if other players earn supply at the faction leader location during Phase 2, the spread influence phase. Building the Rover life path will increase your trade ratio if you choose to meet merchant in Phase 3, the travel phase. Building the Hooligan life path will reduce the cost of actions in Phase 3, the travel phase. All leaders begin with 1 of each supply symbol in the Rover life path and 2 unique supply symbols spread out across the other life paths. Each mission card also has a top left symbol indicating the skill type and a top right symbol indicating the faction it is completed against. Starting with Phase 1, the gain supplies phase. All players simultaneously gain all supplies shown in their Corpocrat life paths by counting the number of supply symbols you have on the life path. Indicate the supplies gained by moving your supply tracker token up on the supply tracker board. In Phase 2, the spread influence phase. In turn order, based on the first player marker, players send their leader to one of the 4 empty faction locations marked with the leader icon, earning you supplies shown on the faction board. Again, you indicate this by moving the supply tracker token up on the supply tracker board. When it's not your turn and another player would earn supplies this way, if you have the supply symbol shown on your Privateer life path, you would also gain that supply by counting the number of supply symbols shown in that particular life path. This may occur multiple times in 4+ player games. In Phase 3, the travel phase. In turn order, players must send their ships out to meet one of 9 characters' location as indicated by the ship symbol. There is no limit to how many ships can visit a location, but you must be able to complete the action in full at the location you select. Starting with the 4 faction board, you complete a faction mission card by paying the mission cost. This cost varies based on the faction you sent your ship to. It's indicated by the cost icon and can be reduced if you have a supply symbol shown in your Hooligan life path. Once you have paid the final cost of the location, choose a mission card from the faction board and slot the card into the associated life path, and send one of your crew to a location on the mini-map that matches the color of the mission you are completing. This symbolizes that the mission was completed in that area. Once complete, refill the empty mission slot with a new card from the deck if any remain. The Stratos board has two character locations, one to meet the Stratolite and the other to meet the NETPROWLER. Both locations allow you to build tubes on the mini-map where you have a crew member on. This is done by paying the tube cost as indicated by tube cost icon on the Stratos board, which will depend on the height of the tube you build. The lowest is 1 while the highest is 3. This cost can also be reduced if you have a supply symbol shown in your hooligan life path. Once you have paid the final cost of the location, you must move your crew away from the mini-map in order to put the tube in its place. The crew will be moved to the Stratos structure, where they are placed on the level matching the number of tunnels you built. Additionally, the first few crew to make it to each level of Stratos allows that player to earn additional supplies. The difference between NETPROWLER and Stratolite is in the supplies that are used for going to Stratos. Meeting NETPROWLER allows you to build your tubes on any hex where you have a crew while paying any single supply type of your choice, whereas meeting Stratolite require you to pick a Stratolite card on the first level of Stratos. These cards demand a mini-map placement and a supply type requirement in order to send your crew to Stratos, making it harder. However, all tubes built this way allow players to have an extra action of replaying their ships again after the round ends. Continuing in turn order, players must move their ships one at a time from the Stratolite location to any other location on the board, taking that action as they do so. The last 3 characters you travel to meet belong in the Underbelly board. Landing on the Lone Shark will allow you to take one of the face-up debt cards and place it to the left of your supply tracker board in the debt section. Then increase your supply tracker of the chosen supply by the amount shown on the card. You may repay your debt to the Lone Shark in Phase 4, which will be explained later. Any loans not repaid by the end of the game will lose you prestige points as shown on the debt card. The Merchant is a location where you go to trade one supply type to another based on the market shown on the board. Notice that drugs may always be traded for any other supply, but you may never gain drugs in a trade because drugs are bad. The amount you can trade starts at 1 for 1 as shown in your rover life path. Having 3 supply icons in this life path allows you to obtain 3 for every 1 supply that you trade in. Landing on the bounty hunters can only occur after you have completed 3 missions against the same faction, as shown on the top right of your mission cards. Simply take the bounty card matching the 3 missions and place it next to the bounty section of the supply tracker board. You do not need to discard the mission cards in order to claim the bounty. You may claim multiples of the same bounty provided you have completed a set of 3 missions for each bounty you claim. Ascend skill is not a travel action and can be performed at any time of the round regardless of the phase. To ascend a skill, players must refer to the 2 skill cards that they were dealt at the start of the game, or 3 in a 2-player game, and can only be completed after you have completed 3 missions of the same skill type, as shown on the top left of your mission cards. Simply take the skill ascended token matching the 3 missions and place it on top of the skill card. Then place the completed puzzle next to the skill ascended section of the supply tracker board. In Phase 4, all players return their ships and their leader. If you have debt cards, you may repay it by returning the amount borrowed, then flipping the card over and placing it in the debt paid section of your board. Then discard the rightmost Stratolite cards, sliding all remaining cards 1 space to the right, and add a new Stratolite from the deck to the leftmost space. Pass the first player token to the next player clockwise. You are ready to begin the next round. Once the last tube that was placed under the Stratos structure is played on the mini-map, the end of the game is near. Bring out the remaining tubes that were set aside at the start of the game. Players play out the rest of the round as normal, then move to scoring. Visit Cytress.com now. Become an elite and forge your own story in this cyberpunk fortress.